And today I want to talk about a question that a lot of people ask, and that is, how can you tell the difference between what your wounded self is telling you is loving to you, or right or wrong, and what your higher guidance? How can you tell the difference between these two? And it does take practice. The wounded self loves to mask as the authority of your higher guidance, loves to pretend that it knows, loves to pretend that it has information, but it never does. The wounded self's frequency is too low to access truth, to access loving action. It can't. So it makes it up. And it can sound like the voice of authority, but it's not. It really doesn't know anything. It's completely and totally ignorant. But it can pretend, and it does very often. And so people can get confused between the two voices, especially when you're not used to listening to the voice of spirit. But the way that you know is by how you feel. Just imagine, and I've said this before, that you have a very, very big soul. Your soul is a huge energy. And a part of that energy is inside. That's the soul within your body. That's your inner child. That's your feeling self. That's the part of your soul that generally communicates through feelings, also through words. And then there's the soul all around us that communicates, pops into the third eye, or in dreams, or through what somebody else is saying, or in a book, lots of ways that spirit communicates. But as I said, spirit's voice is soft, and there's actually a difference between the experience of information coming from your lower mind and coming through your mind. Spirit's voice comes through your mind. It pops in like boop. That's my experience, just pops in. Whereas if it's the wound itself, it's coming from your mind, not through your mind. But as I said, the real way to know the difference is by your feelings. And so if you remember that the soul within you, the part of you that we call the inner child, is a source of inner guidance. And it's an instant source of inner guidance. It responds instantly. And so when you're wondering whether what you're hearing is from your higher guidance or your wounded self, you tune into your feelings. If it feels spacious inside, if it feels right inside, might not always feel good, because sometimes loving action is hard to do and scary for us, but it will feel right. And there'll be a sense of expansion inside when it's coming from your higher guidance. But when it's coming from your wounded self, there's going to be some constriction. There's going to be something doesn't feel right inside. Now, this does take time to develop this discernment. It's not like it's a huge message. It's a small message that we have to learn to pay attention to. But these messages from your inner guidance, your inner child, your feelings, are very important to learn to tune into. Not only do they let you know whether you're lying to yourself from your wounded self or whether your higher guidance is bringing in the truth, they'll also let you know that with other people and with the media, with advertisements, so many things that we're bombarded with. If you're listening, let's say you're watching a debate, a lot of political debates on, let's say you're watching a debate, and you stay tuned into your feelings. With practice, you're actually going to be able to tell whether somebody is lying, they're duplicitous, they're manipulative, they're coming from a lower frequency. They're coming from their wounded self. they're trying to control, or whether they're coming from their heart, whether they mean what they say, whether they're expressing their truth. And this is really important for all of us to learn to discern, whether it's a political debate, whether it's an advertisement about food. So much of the advertisement is about food. They're just lying, and about clothing and about drugs. And oh my God, the drug commercials are unbelievable. You know, when they have to say real fast all the bad things that can happen. You know, if you take this drug, you're going to have a heart attack and maybe you're going to die and this and that. And they say it real fast so that you don't hear it because they want to sell the drug. But if you really tune in, you can feel whether this is right or wrong for you. It's the same thing with your higher guidance. By tuning in to your body. This is why it's so important to stay in step one of inner body, to be present with your feelings. They are such a powerful source of inner guidance. And as I said, they're instant. They don't take time. It may take you time to tune into your higher guidance, to hear that quiet voice, to notice what's popped into your mind. But your feelings, they're instant. And once you learn to stay present in your body, you're going to be getting that powerful, powerful information from your feelings, letting you know whether you're loving yourself, whether you're abandoning yourself, letting you know whether your wounded self is in charge, lying to you, scaring you, causing stress, or whether you're actually hearing your higher guidance or feeling your higher guidance, connecting with your higher guidance. It really is a big difference in frequency. And if you've never paid attention to frequency, again, it takes time to tune into the difference between the low frequency of your wounded self, the high frequency of your higher guidance, the low frequency of somebody else's wounded self, who's maybe, you know, like if you're with somebody who's a very charming person, very smart person, that doesn't mean that they're not lying to you and manipulating you. It's very easy to get pulled in by people who appear to know what they're talking about. That doesn't mean they do. And for me, the only way I know that is to listen inside, listen to my feelings. I remember in the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah, I think that's his name. Anyway, he's a great author, fantastic author. So at the beginning of the book, there's a story where somebody brought a statue to the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, said that it was ancient, and even though it looked kind of newish, they said it was ancient and it was like $10 million. And so they put all these scientists on it to study it. And they studied it for months. And they finally concluded it was genuine. And they paid $10 million for this statue. And then they brought in these art dealers and critics, like 4 of them, I think. And these people walked in, and within the blink of an eye, that's why it's called Blink, within the blink of an eye, they knew it was a fake. They could feel it. They could feel it. They could feel the freshness of it. So they said, no, this is a fake. And so then the scientists went back, and then they discovered that this guy had created some kind of patina that was really only 3 months old. And he had been able to fool all of them. But he had been able to fool the scientists, but not the art people who were used to tuning in to art on the feeling level. I think that's very powerful, that they knew in a blink, they knew immediately. And, you know, very often if you pay attention to your first impression of a situation or a person, You can tell right then in a blink of an eye what's really happening. Who's a kind and caring person? Who's a manipulative person? Who's authentic? Who's not? Who's hiding something? Who's transparent? You can tell by the frequency of it. Those art people could tell by the frequency of that sculpture what was really going on with it. So, another reason why step one is so important, to stay present with your feelings. That is how you're going to know eventually whether it's your wounded self talking to you or your higher guidance talking to you. And, some of it takes patience. Like yesterday on my walk, I was asking my guidance a question. I didn't get the answer right away. Took about, maybe 15 minutes later, it popped into my mind. I love that when that happens. It popped into my mind and it was amazing because I was asking a really important question and the answer just astounded me. And this is what happens when you're open to learning. And I knew, I could feel that it was my guidance because the answer felt so good and so right. This week's episode is brought to you by the Inner Bonding Masterclass. When you join this membership, you'll be part of a compassionate and supportive community who understands what you're going through and who will help you throughout your healing journey. The Inner Bonding membership is created to provide laser coaching for you and others in the community who may be facing the same struggles so that you can practice the inner bonding process more effectively and apply it to your life. You also get to vote on the topic that we will focus on in our bi-monthly masterclass. This way, you and the community will always learn about and get guidance on the topic you're requesting most. Go to innerbonding.com/members to join us. You can use the code BENEFIT to get a 10% discount on your registration at checkout. Again, go to innerbonding.com/members.